From the low desert in beautiful Tempe, Arizona, this is Politics and the Past with Robert Ferguson, joined by our Iranian correspondent, analyst, Farzan. Farzan, it has been too long since we've had you on. I admit a little bit of that selfish because I was although obviously there's been a considerable amount of news coming out of Iran and it has been at the forefront of news all around the world. I admittedly selfishly wanted to hold you off until we kind of knew a little bit more, until were kind of less fluid, until there might be some way we could get some resolution on something. But I don't think we're there, and it's been long enough. We need to we need to check in. So Farzan, welcome again to the show. We've I missed you, and how are you doing?
Hey, thanks, Rob. Nice to be back. Like you said, it's been a minute for sure. So glad to be back here. How am I doing? This is a loaded questions these days. We live in a world that for most Iranian diaspora, before we go to bed or during the day, we read the news about young people who are sentenced to death or they are waiting for their executions and things like that. And we go to bed, we wake up, we open our phone and go into social media and we read the news that they executed one or two overnight while we were sleeping. So this is how we are doing. And on top of that, we have a life here, we have families, we have jobs to do, we go to a school and things like that. So, I mean, it's taxing mentally, physically, emotionally. It's very taxing. And but we do believe there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We believe I believe that the end of the Islamic Republic is close and near. So we just have to keep at it and have at it and don't give up.
Yeah. Uh, well, I mean, I can't imagine what it's been like for you. And Farzan, I must admit, I want to apologize here. I completely butchered your introduction. So Farzan Faramarzi, I didn't even give a last name. I just said Farzan, and I assume everybody, of course, knows who you are at this point. You're like Cher. You don't need a proper introduction, but yeah, Farzan Faramarzi, and he's been a prominent activist here in the Arizona Iranian community, and we've had him on before a couple of times.
Yeah.
So, but just pivoting on your point that you just made about the fact that so many Iranians who live in the United States, who live around the world, are waking up and looking at their internet every day and they're seeing that more people are being executed, more people are being sentenced to death. This is not something that breaks through into the mainstream media, who I think
Yeah.
are really eager to show, um, who seem insistent on treating Iran like an ordinary state at war. Um, there almost seems to be, and I mean, I don't want to go too far with this, but some a little bit of glee at how well Iran has managed to withstand the American bombardment.
Mhm.
I think mostly because they're just anti-Trump. And I also think that, to be honest, there's just some sort of instinct that kind of likes an underdog, and Iran appeared like an underdog here. So I think that they're just sort of a little bit of that. But I think it's because it's a bloody nose for Trump, or appears to be a bloody nose for Trump at this stage.
Yeah.
So there's eagerness to talk about the Lego propaganda videos that the Iranian regime puts out,
Mhm.
um, and as a way of making Trump look weak.
Mhm.
Maybe it's working, maybe it's not working. I don't know. But can you talk a little bit more about what this regime has done domestically to quell dissent?
Yeah, so let me, I mean, You mentioned about execution and what I just mentioned. Let me give you some numbers. Let's start with the execution. I don't think execution is actually a right word. Execution is where, in a fair and normal, judicial system, you do something, heinous crimes, and you go to court and you go through the legal process and everything. And if the court, wants to, whether or not execute you or whatever, I think that's executions. But this is the government killing innocent people, with, they go through this, like what they call it, like what we call it here, kangaroo trail or the sham trials, and then they execute those. Some human rights agencies, they said, like this year, since January, about 450, something around that. But keep in mind, like, many of the executions are not in public, and we don't see and we don't hear about them in the news, so they don't make it into the international, human rights organization. But one of the prominent Iranian human rights organization reported that since January, until, year to date, basically, they executed more than 900 people only, and about 15 just in August. So today is August 13, so they executed 15 people in 13 days. And most of them, like I mentioned, they are young people. Like I have, there are lots of names, Rob. Impossible for one person to remember all of them. I mean, 900 names. I mean, it's impossible to remember. But some of them, like Amir Hossein Hatami, like he was 18. Saleh Mohammadi was 19. Irfan Esfandiari was 18. We have Babak Alipur, 34. We have Gol Muhammad Mohammadi, 23. So, I mean, really, really young folks. I mean, these are just right now, there are names that I'm reading to you, but these are lives. I mean, there are 19-year-old, 18-year-old. They have the whole life in front of them, ahead of them, and they've been executed by the Islamic Republic. I published this opinion piece at the for Washington Examiner a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, when Islamic Republic launched an attack against the Americans, and they killed four service members. One of them was 19. So I made this comparison, like, hey, Saleh Mohammadi was also 19, and this service member was also 19. So two 19-year-old born in two different countries, born in two different continents, but they were murdered by the same regime. So this is just, I mean, a sad story. But to your point, the 19-year-old in Iran, it doesn't make it to the news. It doesn't make it to the mainstream media. It just became a number, a name on some websites. I think one
Yeah.
thing that is for sure, Islamic Republic has done to the psyche of the Iranians and probably the international community is we became numb to this execution news. The reason is, in 47 years, they've been executing people for every month, every day, every week. So this is old news, right? Oh yeah, they executed another person. Okay, yeah, tomorrow executed another person. So it became something that people became numb to it. And that's why it's not like a major news, versus if they execute somebody in some states in the US, it's going to be a major news and everybody talks about it, because we don't do that every day, right?
Mhm.
Um, and that, like I said, it hurts people. Like, it might not make it to the mainstream media, like you mentioned, but it definitely is not going to go unnoticed amongst Iranian community and Iranian diaspora here. We know their names, we read about their lives, and their families published like their videos of them dancing, or one of them who his name is just uh, I can't remember his name right away, but I watched the video that he just bought a car that he liked, and he was just showing the car. Hey, I bought this car to his family, and he was executed. These are all hopes. They were like full of hopes. There was this young girl who was like a biker and was making lots of like biking stuff content, full of life and things, and shot to death. So it's just, I feel like, let's put the politics aside. On a human level, I feel like if 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, teenagers here in the US hear about these teenagers and watch the videos of them, right? They could see that there is very little difference between them.
Yeah.
They both want the same thing, right? They won't want to go to college, buy cars, like hang out with friends, perhaps start a family, and so on and so forth. So maybe if that happens, we see more of them in the news.
Yeah. I mean, it's astonishing actually to me that the crimes of a state that we are currently at war with have not been better broadcast to the American people, the Western people. And I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think part of that's the fault of the American government. Why aren't you talking about this every day? Why aren't you talking about this to help justify your actions? I think it would serve its purposes. I mean, during the First World War, we were making up crimes that the Germans were doing in order to justify the war,
Yeah.
right? The least we could do this time is to actually produce and broadcast the things that are actually happening, legitimately happening. Um, and I also want to touch on, you mentioned this figure 900 people who've been executed. This does not count the people that were executed in the wake of the protests in early January, correct?
No, the 900 figure I provided is the one that people ever executed. So the 40,000 people who were shot and dead in January
Mhm.
was on the street. That's the 4,000 figure. So the others who were not shot, basically the government who couldn't shot the others, arrested them and now
Right.
execute them one by one.
Right.
So at the end, basically, we have to add this number to that 40,000 who were shot and dead. But yeah, the 900 figure is separate. It's just the folks that are in prison, waiting their death penalty, or they receive death penalty and still, or they're still on trial.
Right. And these are mostly people that were rounded up in the wake of the January protests, correct?
Yeah, I mean, most of these people, they were on the January protest, or they were on the streets and they survived the bullets, but now they're not surviving the
Surviving
rope.
them. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hanging, I'm assuming?
What's that?
I'm assuming their method is hanging
Yes.
for executions?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they do, like I mentioned, in Esfahan, they do a few weeks ago. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. They did like a public execution.
Mhm.
Basically, in one of the squares of the town, they execute the three of them. One of them had a disability. I didn't know that. One of them had a disability in his arms, and this is like very painful, and I apologize to explaining this in details, but I think the world should know. Like this poor guy, 19. You look at all of their family photos. He always tried to hide his hand because of his disability. Maybe he was ashamed. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed if you have disability, in my opinion. I mean, nothing. But maybe for him, because every picture that I saw, he was trying to basically hide the one of his hands. And basically, the Islamic Republic accused him of murdering one of the security forces with knife. Like he couldn't hold a knife. This is just like beyond. I mean, if it wasn't about execution and like the government murdering this person, it would be funny maybe in some alternative reality for being accused of killing somebody with knife when you have a disabled arm or hand. But yeah, I was watching that. I was like, how? I mean, there is no way he could have committed this crime. But
Right.
they are just looking. This is a mean for them. This is a weaponizing execution against people to suppress them. So this is the government telling them, if you come out, we either shoot you, and if you run away, we're gonna capture you and we're gonna hang you. So this is why, I mean, you mentioned, why we're talking to them, and I think talking to them puts Trump and the US in a weaker position. This is exactly what the Islamic Republic wants. I mean, they chanted death to America for more than 4 decades. This is their dream. I mean, this is like wrestling with the pig. You never wrestle with the pig, right? You don't feed them what they want. They prayed for these days for 47 years, and now they claiming victory in their papers and their websites. When I read them, or when if you get on X, some of their lots of their supporters are on X and like posting us, and they claim victory. I was reading a news that the U.S. is almost out of their long-range missiles. So yeah, that's a victory for them, because like those drones that we have, they cost millions of dollars. The Shahed drones that the Islamic Republic produces, it costs only 40,000. So yeah, as this war drags on, it's not gonna do any good for Trump and Republicans. We are heading into the midterm. It's gonna be a very tough midterm. I think Trump was hoping that to produce the rally by the flag effect, but it's kind of backfiring, because every day he is talking to this regime. Every day, like there's a 30-day ceasefire, 60-day ceasefire. Okay, the regime during these 30 days, the regime starts executing people. The regime starts looking for people who were involved or engaged in January demonstrations, capture them, put them on sham trials, and then execute them. So it's not really working in favor of Iranian people.
Yeah, it's more about applying pressure to get them to the negotiating table than actually holding their feet to the fire, it seems.
Yeah. No, I understand, but I think the objectives, like Trump never wanted to let the Islamic Republic have the atomic bomb or the nuclear bomb, which I agree 100%. Like I said on your show before, they should not even hold a knife, let alone a nuclear bomb. So period. That's the end of the story. But now the objectives, I think it changed to, let's make sure the Strait of Hormuz is open, and Islamic Republic, I believe they are having fun with these negotiations. And Trump himself said that they are a bunch of scumbags who lies. I mean, I told you before I was on the show. I told you before. I mean, I've been saying this for years, that you cannot trust Islamic Republic.
Mm.
And for those who think that like people like me or other Iranians are supporting this war, are like traitors to their country, I have to tell you, like, how many countries do you know that are engaged in a war with a foreign country, yet they keep executing their young men and women every day? Like, this is not a normal regime,
Mhm.
and they're not acting. You cannot like judge them by the Western values. I, I, I'm telling you, I was born there. I lived under that system. I went to a school with them, so I know what they are doing.
Mhm.
This has to stop. Like, I mean, negotiating and hoping that we put like a moderate government in place, it's not gonna work
Yeah.
out.
So we'll get back to geopolitics here in a second. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, when we first chatted about this back in February on the show, um, you, I think, expressed a confidence that was spread across the diaspora that there would be an uprising in Iran.
Hmm.
We have not, whether it was being, sent by the symbol of the Shah, or rally, but that has not happened. Now, I think, and I'm curious why you think that hasn't happened.
Well, it hasn't happened at the beginning of the operation, when the Operation Epic Fury started. Both Trump and the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi asked people to stay in home. stay put, stay inside, because they were bombing like the military bases, and they told people to, stay away from military facilities and bases just to protect their lives. After that, I mean, the people of Iran are ready to get back to the street, are ready for another uprising, but they are very scared. They don't have guns, and this government shows that they are not afraid to kill thousand and thousand and thousand in a day.
Mhm.
So they are in a very delicate situation. And the messages I receive from Iran is that we are just waiting out, waiting to find a moment to get back to the streets. But we are afraid. We have seen how this government, how merciless they are, and how savage they are. So we don't want to risk it. We don't want to, get killed or get arrested and then executed. So they are just waiting for the right moment to get back on the streets.
Um, I mean, the fear makes complete sense to me. Uh, are you worried that the people who were likely to be the instigators are all in prison or have been killed?
Well, a lot of them have been killed. 40,000 of them have been
Mhm.
killed. A lot more have been hanged and are in prison. But that's not the whole. Iran is in a huge country, and I think I was reading somewhere. I forgot the source, but the IRGC supporters and sympathizers and like the officials, it's about like less than 5% of the people of
Mhm.
Iran. I mean, there are 90 million people there. Not every 90 million of them are against the regime. Some of them either working for the regime, some of them are, benefited from the regime. We have seen lots of influencers, and I have to say that this is not just a military war; it's a psychological war as well. We have seen influencers in the like the Iranian circle that they've been active for years, and some of them they've been like even speaking about Islam and cursing Islam all day long in their videos, and then they turn up in the the when they turned up in Iran for the funeral of Khamenei a month ago in 4th of July. So they turned up there for the funeral, and then we were like, oh wow, so this guy was a spy or a tool of this propaganda machine. We have lots of influencers live in the US. They have over 1 million followers, but they are repeating or whitewashing the crimes of Islamic Republic.
Mhm.
So this is what we are up against. We are up against not just a savage government. Here outside, we are up against this huge propaganda machine.
Mhm.
This is again, this is another thing. Like in Iran, now people even here now we don't know who we trust. It's a kind of like hard because we've had people who were like very active, very vocal, and then they flipped in a day, and then now start whitewashing or talking for regime.
Oh my goodness. It's
Yeah,
that
so
bad.
it,
It,
it, it is
is
bad.
it
I mean,
people
it's
like
not.
can I ask, is it people you've known personally?
Well, these are like mostly influencers that lots of people know in the community,
Mhm.
but not ordinary people. Like the people I know, they are solid. They are steadfast in what they want, and toppling the regime and regime change for this is what we want. This is what I want. But yeah, we had influencers, and in my opinion on these influencers and every influencers in the not every influencers in the world. Let me talk about like the mostly Iranian influencers. Like if you are in Iran, if you are in Iran and you are an influencer, for example, I don't know, a travel influencer or a fitness influencer, and you start getting 5 million followers and you do everything or whatever and you say whatever you want, in my opinion, that's a red flag. The Islamic
Mhm.
Republic is a dictatorship. They do not let anybody get that big. So if you are that big and still lives in Iran and live a luxury life, you must be connected to somewhere or something.
Mm.
And now we are seeing that. We are seeing that they are coming out of woodwork and they are showing their true colors.
So let me just get this straight because this is really interesting and I want to make sure I have a handle on this.
Mhm,
You're saying that there were a lot of influencers who appeared very critical of the regime or who
mhm,
appeared very critical of Islam,
mhm,
who were either lived in Iran or lived outside of Iran,
mhm,
who appeared to be part of, let's call it the broader opposition movement
mhm.
to
Some of them, yes.
the regime, to the IRGC. And in the last month and a half, 2 months or so, it's
Mhm.
become apparent that they were basically fifth columnists within the opposition movement that were financed and organized by the regime.
Yes. So, and let me just a very nuanced clarification. Some of them, yes, they were critical of the regime, they were against the regime, or they don't really, talk about the regime or whatever. But now they started talking about regime. They are talking about, they are repeating the talking points of the regime. Some of them are not like just straight up like supporting the regime, but the conversation changed, and now you see, okay, these are actually the talking point of the regime. They are what we call like whitewashing the crimes, basically.
Mhm.
So that's like when we listen to them and say, oh, you weren't talking like that a year ago. So what happens now that you are repeating the same talking points that we hear from the regime?
Yeah, so either they've been, influenced or threatened in the last little while in order to do that, or they were always sort of positioned to do that. They built
Yep.
credibility by being, critical, but maybe not necessarily focusing on the regime all the time, but if they did happen to talk about it, they certainly didn't appear to be friends of the regime.
Yeah,
And right,
that's the correct way to
right.
to
And
to put it.
then
Yes.
right. So it looked so when they flip, it looks authentic.
Yeah, yeah. When
Right?
they
When
flip, and I
they
think there is money involved.
right. But it's more credible. They have more credibility. They would have more credibility with the Iranian opposition movement, Iranian diaspora, than say some account that just has for years parroted IRGC talking points. Nobody's going to listen to them. But you might
Yeah,
get that,
no.
right? But these are people who like had, who were being, if not, you know, who had some credibility and had some audience among the diaspora and among the resistance
Mhm.
movement.
Yeah, and even in Iran, like for example, if you are an influencer in the US, an Iranian influencer with 3 or 4 million followers, and like you have lots of followers in Iran, lots of followers outside, and people watching your videos and things like that. And let's say this influencer starts talking the same talking points, starts spreading the same propaganda that regime tries to get across. Nobody believes the regime. Like if I turn on the TV and I'm in Iran and turn on the TV and hear something, I would be like, yeah, these guys are lying. But if I go on Instagram and see this influencer that I've been following for 10 years and see that like she is saying something similar, I believe this influencer more than the regime.
It's very
So
clever.
this is, yeah, this is what we are against. Like
Right.
these are the people that it's not that we are only fighting with Islamic regime. I mean, yes, we are fighting with them, but they are like an octopus. There are many legs that we have to cut.
Yeah, and the Russians do the same thing.
Yeah.
This is very similar to the Russian operation. Very, very, very similar. The Chinese as well. We've talked about all three of these being
Uh-huh.
Iran, China, and Russia. Uh, you know, being maybe the modern day axis of evil, but they are they're they share best practices, and
Yeah,
they're
I'm sure.
very insidious, and they use the internet very effectively. All of them do.
Yep.
In Russia with the Russians, you'll see some, good-looking Russian girl, have who has a lots and lots and lots of followers, never talks politics, but then you'll just if you know what you're looking for, you
Yep.
will see here's a very subtle pro-Putin talking point.
Yep.
You
Yep.
missed it
Very,
'cau
very
yeah,
subtle.
yeah, you missed it because you weren't because you don't really know that you're being influenced right now.
Yeah.
But, oh, or more likely, it's not even gonna be pro-Putin, it'll be anti-Ukraine,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it won't be obvious because they're good.
Yep. Yep.
They're good.
So yeah,
And I expect
that,
that you're seeing very similar things in Iran. That's interesting.
very similar things, and I think the playbook that you mentioned, Islamic Republic is getting their playbooks from Russia and China. I mean, they are, especially Russia, they are buddies,
Yeah.
right? So they definitely follow the same path
Well, I
to
mean,
influence. And
they've innovated together. I mean, I don't think it's
yeah,
just that they've stolen they've innovated together, and
oh yeah,
they learned to innovate against ISIS.
yep,
Right? They were
exactly.
perhaps more so than, let's say, the West, who we were creeped out by the entire thing, but they were willing to adopt some of the best practices or some of the things that they learned from ISIS.
Yep, they are, like I said, Islamic Republic is, chanting death to America and death to Israel for 47 years. And they were practicing for this day. And West and the US is also the enemy of China and Russia in their philosophy. So these definitely are, sharing best practices and their playbook with each other, and they have been tested. It like the Islamic Republic, they have many people, their sons and daughters of the IRGC folks living in the U.S., working in the U.S., sometimes in sensitive places.
Yeah.
So they embedded all these, they're agents. It's not so they have influence. So they have soldiers, right? These are like soldiers, military, IRGC, Quds forces. Then they have influencers. Then they have these folks that they embedded in different institutions in the West to influence their thinking and their policy. So it is a very large network that they have. It's a, and once they're gone, I was always telling my wife that once they're gone, we are still seeing like World War II movies based on true stories coming out even after these many years.
Mhm.
When they are gone, we're gonna see lots of spy movies and things like that coming out of Islamic Republic.
Interesting.
So yeah, this is what we are up against.
For sure. Interesting. Okay. One of the key early figures in organizing resistance was the Crown Prince, Reza
Yes.
Pahlavi. I have
Yeah.
not I mean, again, I'm not on Iranian social media, so I don't know what the situation is, but I have not heard the name Pahlavi in several months.
So he is, busy with like, meeting politicians and things like that and talking to the Iranian people. As I believe, as this wars is dragging on, and this is what the Islamic Republic wants. It's a tiring process, right? It's a tiring process. It's exhausting, and you see, Trump is not talking about Iran like every day. Like Marco Rubio used to talk a lot, but he's not. I haven't seen him talk about Iran or mentioning Iran. I mean, I'm sure behind closed doors they are talking about it, but in the media, at least, I don't see a lot of talking. Maybe that's a good thing. We need more actions rather than talks. But I know that Crown Prince been meeting with U.S. officials, Israeli officials lately, um, and he's been always in the forefront of resistance. And one thing that I have to say here, even even the people that are not monarchists are rallying behind him at this point. The reason is, at least we know he is not with the IRGC. He's the crown prince. His dad was the king of Iran. he were going to be the next king, and he lost that because of the IRGC. It's been taken away from him, so he has no reason to be in bed with IRGC versus the influencers
Mhm.
or these this professor at so and so university or colleges. We know that, and that's one reason many people, even those that are not monarchists, even those that who were not supported him maybe 5 years ago, are now supporting him. So this
Sure.
is reason one. The other reason that many people, even those who were not supported him like 5 or 10 years ago, are supporting him now, is that because the people in Iran, the people who were hanged, these 19-year-olds, they were on the street chanting his name.
Mhm.
So for me, myself, if the people on the street who are facing live bullets are chanting his name and want him to return, I'm in no position to, for example, come up with another name or support another person.
Yeah,
I have to honor their request.
sure.
So and this is why, like, another thing that we keep asking the U.S. government is to publicly meet with him. So maybe they met behind closed doors, but the Islamic Republic, they need to know that the West or the international community is meeting with him and something is gonna happen. So this scares them the most, like the Islamic Republic. That this scares them more than missiles and bullets.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sitting, like 6 months ago, Reza Pahlavi was an important figure. He seemed like an important figure. In August 2026, he doesn't feel important at all. Like, I mean, I'm not on Iranian social media, and I'm sure it's very different on Iranian social media. I'm just this is purely as an outsider. It's just my sense that he went from having influence
Mhm.
to being this important figure to being a complete afterthought and having zero influence at all.
So I still think he is an important figure in Iranian community. We don't have any other. I mean, we don't have anybody. We have other political groups, like we have left groups or Marxist groups and things like that, that we cannot trust them, or the MEK, or also known as NRC, National Resistance Council, that nobody people actually hate them.
Mhm.
Um, so he is an important figure. Again, we know that he has nothing to do with the IRGC and this vicious cult. What you are mentioning, I think it's kind of like it feels that he kind of fades away in the news or in the mainstream media, despite him being talking to different political figures and having meetings and things like that. And I think that's one reason of this war being dragged on forever.
Mhm.
A few months ago, to your point, we all thought, okay, that's it. I mean, the regime is gonna be gone by maybe weeks or days. So that's why lots of interviews, lots of meetings, and things like that. But this war is kind of keep continuing. The gas prices is high here, so the news is shifting focus towards that. And the other reason that I'm assuming there is less appetite to talk to him or talk about the Iran war or say anything in supporting that. I mean, you get lots of hate. Also, if you are a news station talking about that, I mean, I always read the comments, especially like when the different news stations, local stations post something about Iran. People are talking about the gas prices, and it is right. Like I said, I mean, we live here, so the internal affair and the price is also important to the U.S. consumers and all of us. And if you pay attention to the news, I was reading that like the national strategic oil reserve is at its lowest since 1983. So yes, these are really important to U.S. consumers and U.S. Voters, and we are heading into the election. So the news stations starts like covering more like U.S. elections prices, and every day there is a new disease or things coming out of like jalapenos or bell peppers or eggs. I mean, so these are the things that I think kind of shifted the focus to that one. But I'm pretty sure it if a major things happen, and the other thing is Trump was on ceasefire for 30 days, then start bombing, then again ceasefire for 60 days. So okay, it is ceasefire, so there's really nothing to report on, and so they moved on. But some news agencies like CNN, I think we covered that. They traveled to Iran, and they try to convince U.S. Or Western audience that they have this fair reporting from Iran. I mean, if you believe that, you must be very naive.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's yeah, I'm just, I'm curious because again, this he and I wonder the community inside of Iran, he could still be a focal point, is what you're saying.
He
He
could.
still has credibility enough to still be a focal point for resistance. He
Yes.
could lead a revolution. It's not like he's lost credibility within the Iranian
N-
community.
no, not
Okay.
at all.
That's
Yeah,
that
not at all.
that's interesting. So yeah, so
Yeah.
if something were to, if there were going to be if something was to happen in the coming weeks and there was an uprising, Pahlavi's name would be on people's lips. People would still be, and if he were to kind of become its figurehead, it's not like you would have that all of the Iranian protesters would go, dude, no. You were last
No, and
month.
he's not.
You were the flavor of last month. You're not the flavor of this month.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. And if you listen to him, he's never said that I want to become the next king. He said I want to be the transition leader. We want to have a fair referendum, and people select whoever they want. And if they select me, okay, great. If they don't, I would honor the people's choice.
Sure.
So this is, I mean, he's been living in the US, he studied in the West, he is very Western minded. And I think having somebody like him in Iran would benefit the West as well, protect the West as well. It's going to be a great allies for West, especially the US and Israel. It just, I mean, above my pay grade that why we're not supporting Reza Pahlavi at this point. Maybe because of the experience we had with Afghanistan and Hamid Karzai. If you remember, Hamid Karzai was living in the U.S. U.S. Supported him, helped him to get to the power and everything, but it didn't work out. And U.S. gave up on Afghanistan, left Afghanistan in disgrace, and Taliban took over again. So maybe because of that, they afraid to support a person that good understandable from like the Western point of view. However, from the Iranian people point of view and from his point of view, he is saying, help us, support us, at least to have like a referendum, at least to have an election, and let the people speak. He never asked, hey, U.S. needs to help, to make me a king, or I want to be the next king.
Mhm. Fair enough. Um, for those interested in Afghanistan, you brought that up. It would be remiss of me not to we did an episode a couple months ago with an expert on internal Afghan on what's going on inside Afghanistan. So if you're interested on what's going on actually inside Afghanistan since the American withdrawal in 2021, I encourage you to look back and listen to that episode. But we're here to talk about Iraq. So um, interesting. That's an interesting perspective. It also might be the fact that they don't want to they know that this is gonna be a longer, drawn out process now, and so you don't want to, have Pahlavi in front of international cameras every day because eventually he just, like you just lose you the effect. And having him
Yeah.
go away for a little while and, like, "Listen, I'll come back, but I'm only gonna come back out when there's a point of me coming back out," that could make sense as a communication strategy.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
we're speculating here.
Yeah,
But yeah.
for sure.
Okay, so let's go back to the geopolitics for a moment.
Okay.
Um, what are the what have you seen in the relationship between Iran and the other Gulf states recently? Because it seems to be changing to me on like on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, it is very complicated in terms of, I mean, you have to look at it not just the politics lens, but the religious lens as well. All the Arab states around Iran, they are Sunni Muslims, and Iran is majority Shia Muslims. And Iraq, part of Iraq, are they have Shia as well, and Syria, but like Qatar and or Jordan and Saudis and all major ones, they are UAE. They are mostly 99% Sunni Muslims, and Sunni and Shias are not on a good term historically.
That might be like the under like statement of the millennium. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like for Western audiences, it's like Protestants and Catholics, or Catholics and Mormons. Something, look at it this way. So they're not on good terms. And it, I think Iran expected that because they are all Muslims at the end of the day, and the West attacked them. They were expecting those countries, those Muslim brothers, to help them, or at least not helping the US, but that didn't happen. So that pissed them off, and they start like throwing rockets at them. It's interesting that they keep talking about like they are friends. It's so funny because if when you read the Iranians website, they throw the rockets at Jordan, and Jordan was on their side trying to you know broker a deal, and everything, before Pakistan got involved. And the next day, they like the foreign affair minister was talking about how they are like friends, and they're like one nations, and like one under one with one religion and everything. So I think the Islamic Republic tries to let them know that, hey, if I can't hit U.S. because they are far away, I can still hit you. So
Mm.
just mind your business, don't get involved. And I think, yeah, I mean, if they all get involved against Islamic Republic, they have no chance, right? They can't resist all the countries at once. So I think this was like they just want to, give them a warning. So, those missiles and drones that hit Kuwait, Jordan, Qatar, UAE, they were mostly, a warning shot from the Islamic Republic just to, hey, don't get involved.
Right. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I mean, I think you're right that the inability to be able to attack the United States means that you attack the closest thing you can hit, and it's harder to hit
Yeah.
Israel than it is to hit Dubai.
Yep, exactly. And the other thing is that, for example, Qatar, if you look at Qatar, and they gave refuge to Taliban, like the head of Taliban after the 9/11 when the
Mhm.
US attacked them. Some of them they came to Iran, like the Bin Laden's son been living in Iran reportedly. And the head of Taliban, they went to Qatar and lived there. Head of Hamas was living there for
Mhm.
a while.
Yeah, at least the political wing.
Yeah, so they give, I mean, they work with all these organizations that are on the list of terrorist organization in the US, same as what Islamic Republic do. But they also have a good relationship with the US. So I think you can look at it that, from the Islamic Republic's government's point of view, is that, oh, you guys were in bed with Hamas and Taliban, and you were helping them as well. So why they are only hitting us if that's the reason? Oh, they are hitting us. I'm hitting you because I know that you help them as well, and I don't want you to get involved. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is a very interesting one, and also again going back to Shia and Sunni being, enemies and not really friends with each other. So Islamic Republic sees the opportunity to attack these, nations as well, because on a normal day, I mean, they could not, attack them and start a war. But now it's a war, so they start like throwing missiles and drones at them.
Okay. Um, the, you brought something up there, something that I hadn't considered, and we're gonna move back to Iran domestically for a moment. Is what's the actual messaging that the Iranian government is trying to get out to its own citizens? Is it a like that the regime's trying to get out? Is it a rally around the flag? Is it just anti-Americanism, anti-Trump, or is it we are in the end, like the end times as foretold by our prophet?
Well, they are trying to, rally around the flag, rally around the religion. They're like, we because Shia is really if you look at the Shia theology, Imam Hussein is a very important figure who rose up against Yazid, who was one of the Sunnist caliphate, and because Hussein was believed to be the next the third Imam, and I have to put that in context that Yazid and Hussein and all the others who were fighting at that time, they were like third and fourth cousins, so they were distant relatives as well. But they are looking at these, and Hussein had only 72 uh, people with him. He had like a larger army, but then he asked them the night before the war. I mean, this is the stories that Shia, based on Shia sources.
Well,
So the
this is
night
what you were educated in growing up.
this is what I was educated. So, you could see like I could go into the mosque and talk to them about, what happened in those days. So a night before, Hussein told his army that, hey, tomorrow we might get all killed, and so if you don't want to stay, I close my eyes, you leave the tent. So he ended up with only 72 people, and then obviously lost really
Mm,
bad. Um, and they cut his head and whatever. So this happened, and from Shia point of view, they were slaughtered, and they were martyr of in Islam, and Islamic Republic is really feeding its theology from this very story. And
mm,
now they're like, yeah, we are like Imam Hussein. We are less in people against the whole world, but God is with us, and we, at the end of the day, we are going to win. And we are going to win. I think Marco Rubio understood this very well, because I saw a tweet of him. If you destroy them, they are coming out and they are saying we won the war, because at the end of the day, if you kill them, they are gonna go to heaven, and they're gonna sleep with 72 virgins. So it's a win-win scenario for them if you look at it this way. And if they win, they actually win in the war, so
right.
that's a win.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm just wondering if they're trying to cast this in apocalyptic terms.
They are looking for that. They believe when all these things happen,
This is
when
like
they
this is the necessary step for the 12th Imam to return, and that the
turn.
and like all the eschatological um
Exactly.
uh things are going to begin.
Yeah, it's more theology than politics for them,
Right.
because they believe they are preparing the world for the promised one, for the 12th Imam to return. And this all these war and all these things is leading up to that moment. So obviously, if you believe in that, you would welcome this conflict,
Mhm.
because you're gonna see the 12th Imam, you're gonna fight with him, and he's gonna free the world, and he's gonna do all these good things, I mean, based on their theology. So Yeah, they mean they look at it through this lens. I think Marco Rubio put that out that you can negotiate with them because they look at everything through their theology and through their religion. So it's kind of hard to reason politically with them.
Well, yeah, when they're millenarians, there's not much you can do. It's they're not reasoning on the same level that you and I are reasoning,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yep.
Interesting. Okay, well, we have 5 minutes left here, Farzan, and I don't want to keep you any longer. I know you've got a busy day and you've got a lot of other people you got to talk to. But Farzan, what's the last thing you would like to? What do you want our listeners to know?
I think the takeaway, that something I wanna, your listeners to take away from these is they are executing people. The Islamic Republic has been in war with its own people and the West for 47 years. These are young people. I mean, all of them, like 18, 19-year old, they were not live during the Shah. So they never seen the good old days that my parents and my grandparents seen and lived. But they for sure know that this regime is no good for this country. They want freedom. I mean, at the end of the day, let me summarize that. I mean, very simple. They want the freedom that you and I have. I mean, why a girl cannot ride a bike? Why? I mean, if you're a girl listening and you're 18 or 19 and you're riding your scooter, they want to do the same thing without fear of getting arrested.
Yeah, and Farzan, just to clarify, we were at a round table earlier this year, and there was a young woman there who's a refugee from Iran, and she explained how when she was 18 years old, she got a brand new bike from her dad, and she was
Yeah,
riding it around the city. I don't remember which city, Shiraz maybe, and um, one of the morality police told her father that she can't ride the bike anymore, and and you just think like how excited you are. You got a brand new bike from your dad,
yeah.
and all of a sudden
They,
the government says you can't ride this bike anymore because you're 18 years old and it's too like provocative to have a female riding a bike. It's too like sexually provocative or something like that.
yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly it. I remember Mariam was talking about that. Yes, they at the end of the day, they are fighting for freedom. They are fighting to not scared to follow a different religion, to ride this bike, or they don't want to. They don't. They are fighting for freedom. Like why they have to, wear hijab or cover their hair. Um, I mean, people should be free if they want to cover their hair, they should be free to do so. If they don't, they also should be free. They shouldn't be captured by the morality police and sentenced to jail or get lashes for that. These are medieval punishment that they still do. Like you and I, we live in a free country. We do what as we please. I mean, as long as we don't break the law, you can do whatever you want. So they want that. They want government out of people's business. Like as a Baha'i, as a religious minority in Iran, I mean, when we had like a religious gathering, we weren't sure, are they gonna storm in and capture all of us? There are lots of Baha'is in Iran. 19-year-old Baha'i, she's been in custody in Kerman, the city of Kerman, for over 120 days. A pretty girl. Like she should have been a model if she was here. 120 days, nobody heard of her. What happened to her? Like, yeah, they just want to be free. They just want to live like you and I do here.
Well, Farzan, thank you very much. Thank you for giving us this update. I was kind of hoping to have you on so that we could have a great big celebratory
Yeah,
podcast.
me too.
That was the plan. We're not there. Maybe in future someday we might be older men by then.
Very soon.
Yeah, but hopefully very soon because I look forward to that day, and I know for your entire community and frankly for the whole world. So
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Rob. Thanks for having me. And yeah, hopefully we talk soon on a happier note.
sounds good. And even if it's not a happier note, I'll be sure to have you on sooner rather than later,
I
because again,
appreciate it.
that delay again, it was just me selfishly looking to have a really big the trilogy was gonna be completed with celebration, but, alas, no such luck.
No such luck yet.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate it.
Alright, Farzan, take care.
Thank you. Bye.